Okay, we are live. We are live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. You might be watching this as a replay on YouTube and in our podcast channel. Thank you for joining me today, this Thursday. We are going to be doing a transmission today on life force cultivation. I'm really excited about this topic, mostly because I often bring the topics that are quite alive for me in my life. So I think that you are all going to resonate. And somehow it's almost as if we're doing a series. If you've been watching the latest episodes of Warriors of Light, I've been mostly doing solo transmissions, and that's going to be the vibe for the next couple of months because there's just so much to share. And there's just been this continuity from one episode to another, and we're like building a framework. We're building our library so we have a deeper understanding of this path as genetic path cutters. So if you're here, say hello to me, right? Let's do the red emoji lady. Let me just confirm if we are actually live on Facebook. Hello, Sarah. Hello, how are you? It's so good to hear from you. It's been a minute since I've seen you around here in this room. Okay. Oh, yes. Hello, Facebook. I see that we are alive on Facebook, right? And Zoom as well. Thank you all for joining me. So let's jump in to life force cultivation, right? This title, right there, it has really such powerful words, right? The first word is life. And life is so important to us humans. We are currently right now alive, experiencing the life stream, not this one, not this life, but life, the stream of life, the current of life, or the impulse of life that is our personal journeys on earth, right? So each one of us, we are here to experience a lifetime, right? To experience time within the stream of life, the life wave, let's call it the life wave, right? And, we enter this life wave of earth at a particular point, that might be in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, 2010. I mean, there are also others who were born before this times. Just I started closer to when I was born. But yes, so we entered life at that point, and we are currently within this stream of life. And there is a particular energy, particular impulse, frequency about the current life wave that we are in. Yes, we have people here who were born in 1925 who are like 100 years old. Sarah, you're hilarious. Yes. So every wave on earth, it has a particular impulse, like a particular way that it's expressing itself, right? So as a generation, those of us born in this current generation, right, this current century, let's call it that, those of us born in this current century, the last 100 years, there's a particular tempo, particular wave that really influences our experiences on earth, right? That's at a collective level, right? Let's bring it down to you as a person. When you enter the life wave, there is a particular force that you bring with yourself into the earth, right? And that force is like your energy, your essence, you know, that your soul is made up of originally from higher worlds, and you bring a certain aspect of that force with you, right? And last week we were talking about the journey of the soul and how the soul is continuously journeying from one lifetime to another, exploring itself, expressing, evolving, and right? So like now we're talking about how this soul itself, it brings a certain amount of life energy, life force with it, right? And that life force is what's going to influence how the soul will experience itself, right? So this life force, it's held in the soul frequency, or the field of the soul, which is the astral energy as well as the etheric energy, right? The Egyptians called this the Ka, Ka, the Ka, right? So the Ka is also in ancient times known as the double. Every single one of us, we have a double self, right? A double self is essentially, we have a soul, and the double self has its own particular force that it's holding, and it has intentions when it comes here. And that force merges with the physical human body, right? And that life force, let's say, I don't know what the measurements are, honestly, but I'm sure that some scientists who have the measurement of what life force, how we measure life force. But let's say the highest amount of life force you could bring is 100 to Earth, right? And you brought 70% of life force, right? Just because you realize you didn't need a lot of life energy with you, right? So here's the thing. The more you have life force, the more your life will appear and you experience life with ease, because you'll be able to have enough energy to navigate the waves of life, challenges of life, right? The more you have less of that life force, the more you're going to have to carry yourself a little bit more. You have to do more, and life will feel challenging to you. Okay, are you with me? Cool. So if you got 100, I mean, when we look at you, we see a person who's able to express themselves, that probably, artistic, they have that leadership. They just seem to move in life with ease. There's that much force within them, and that they know how to use that force, right? And when you've brought like a little, then life will appear very difficult. So, but what will be why will someone bring a little? The truth is that we don't actually really bring a little. All of us, we bring enough, more than enough, in our first life on earth. And then that life force, the life force itself in your car, is supposed to last you thousands of lifetimes. So when you're moving from one life to another, that's where you lose your life force, right? And when you lose your life force, it can get to the point where you have lost too much that it will be difficult to incarnate. You can't incarnate, right? This is where we end up having beings which we will call like soulless beings. These are people who have lost their life force. That life force is no longer accessible, right? And how do you lose life force? What will make you lose life force? Cool. The school of earth, the challenges that are here, right? And these challenges, at the core of them, they are created by the current reality that we function on free will, right? So we have the free will to choose, to make choices. about where we want to go, how we want to express ourselves as consciousness, right? However, in that choosing, there are certain choices that are inherently, naturally not sustainable for consciousness or for a soul. They do not allow the soul to thrive, right? So what kind of choices will that be? Like choices like choosing things that are only beneficial to you, pull you further and further away from unity consciousness, from Christ consciousness, and eventually that doesn't allow you to properly thrive, because it's not unfortunate, fortunately, but it appears fortunate to some souls, we are a collective. Humanity is a collective. So whichever choice you make will influence others. And so because we have free will, we sometimes make choices that may be harmful to other people. And when that happens, that creates a dent in the car, in the double. And when there is a dent, life force leaks out of your car. You lose that life force. It's passed to the impact, to the pain that was created, right? So free will itself, there's a difference between free will and freedom, right? We are meant to be free beings, right? And even the reason why we are given the prime directive that we get to choose how we want to experience ourselves comes from that prime directive of being trusted by Source God for us to choose how we want to develop and grow and be, right? With no interference, even if it is not the most beneficial for us. So because we have free will, we sometimes make choices that actually go against, that divert away from what is natural to the soul. And when we do that, that leads to the diminishing of life force, right? So what kind of things in our world, what kind of choices have we made that have definitely drained, released our life force? War is one example of that, right? The idea that we can now be violent with each other and literally be at the, like be the people who are literally taking life from others. That is the most damaging thing a soul could ever do, right? Violence against others, because it is essentially violence against the self, because we are one collective, right? So things like war, things like violence, things like misery. So all the slavery that has happened here, all the sexual misery that has happened to the feminine, for example, on earth, and the mental enslavement that has particularly happened to all of humanity, but particularly to the masculine as well, has been draining to our life force. So from one lifetime to another, when we've had all the wars, the World War Is and Twos and so forth, that experience, even though we don't see it's damaging to the soul, to the car, and it drains our life force away from us. And that's why from one generation to the other, have you noticed how it's like the more we go in the life wave, the more there are more diseases, more problems, particularly with the human body, right? More diseases, more challenges, mental issues. Why is that? Because of life force. Because we are no longer sufficiently holding enough life force as a collective. We have lost too much of our life force. Right now we are, yes, of course, functioning, right? So there is the life force, which is your eternal life force, which is what I'm really talking about. I should have mentioned that. The eternal life force that gets damaged. And then there is the life force that you carry for one lifetime, which when we say someone has transitioned, we mean that there has been a separation between the double self has separated from the physical self. Your soul has separated from your physical self, which means the body is no longer receiving life force. And when the body doesn't receive life force, what does it do? It dies. It can't function without life force, right? Without life force, we die, right? That's the bigger thing. And so even at an eternal level, the more we as a collective have been doing these choices, making these choices, the more we as soul beings, we will die, right? Well, yes, we will arrive to a certain space that will be a definition of death, even though in reality, consciousness can never really ever die, but it can be diminished so completely that it's not able to function, you know? Yeah. Are you with me? Oh. So let me check in with you all. I'm sorry to hear that, Sibongile. So you're asking, is the amount we bring impacted at different seasons in our life? Or is there a standard life force that we come with that can be changed regardless of what we do? Right, so there is definitely, so depending on like your journeys across time as a soul, remember that I assume, there is a certain life force that you have that you will bring, definitely, right? And the amount of life force you have definitely will affect you, and it will affect even the kind of experiences that you do have and affect how you manage those particular experiences, right? So is there a standard life force that we come with that can be changed? So that's the thing. It's not like life force cannot. That's why today's topic is about life force cultivation. There is an amount of life force that we, for example, as a collective, we have lost a lot of life force in the last 2 years, right? From the extreme stress of living the way that we have been living, the anxieties, the losses, the grief. Definitely at a collective level, we lost that life force, and that altered our life experiences. And that's why perhaps we may have been feeling low, depressed, anxious as a collective, because our life force is being diminished. But it doesn't mean that when you lose this life force, it cannot be cultivated back, right? So that's why the topic is about cultivation. It can be cultivated back. And why can it be cultivated back? Because even when we are here, we are always continuously connected to the eternal, sustainable life force of Source God, of the cosmos, of the higher heavenly worlds. There is an over abundance of life force that does exist, but we need to cultivate it beyond earth, beyond the human vessel, right? Even beyond the car, even beyond the soul, right? So that's why in our spirituality, we move beyond just working with the soul to work with our spirit, the eternal spirit that is completely connected to that stream of all life waves from the higher heavenly worlds, right? That is what that awakening, this is what this awakening is about, is to connect you back to your spirit. Even as a soul being, there's something beyond you, beyond your car. Your soul is the one that is particularly projected here in your physical body, experiencing what you're experiencing. But something beyond that, which is what historically we call the spirit, is also available. And that is what this cultivation is all about, right? Yes. Okay. So Lorraine, you're asking, does it mean if your shadow is stolen, then your body will follow where your shadow was taken? Is this true? Can you explain to me? I think I'm lost. What you mean by your shadow? Are you talking about the car? I mean, I feel like you're translating something in an African language, and I know kind of like what you're talking about, but can you clarify still for me that question? Yeah. Yes. So are you with me? So we have to connect back to the spirit, right? So what and a couple of you guys have shared here that you're feeling quite low in terms of your life force, and so this feels relevant. I'm glad. So my question to you is, why do you think your life force is low? I mean, other than the pandemic, right? What could possibly be draining your life force, right? Just something to contemplate on. But the number one thing that drains our life force is definitely trauma. When we go through traumatic experiences, right? When we go through traumatic experiences, that is so shocking to the double self, your car, that it really affects it, and it almost like cracks your double, your astral body, your etheric body, right? And when they crack, you start to have leaks. Right? And when you have leaks, it's like a balloon. The first time there's a tiny little bit of a leak in a balloon, the balloon will still survive and it will function, but it will kind of like fall into itself, right? And if there's another continuous leak that happens, obviously the balloon is going to just like, yeah, collapse. If there is a big impact, we know if you come to the balloon and you stab it with a knife, definitely it's going to fall apart, right? So our car is that sensitive. Our life force is enclosed within this ball of the car, this double field, So the reason why I'm like crazy cuckoo about healing, I keep repeating it over and over again, it's because healing fundamentally is really about life force management and life force cultivation. We are trying to seal the parts of ourselves that are leaking because of trauma, that are leaking our life force. And because we're leaking life force, we end up finding ourselves depressed, anxious, unable to be alive, widely alive, right? To be present, to be how you may have been when you were a child. Remember, when you were a child, you would just play and you just have so much energy, and you were not always just overthinking. Like, ideas of depression were not really that active, especially for the first decades of our lives. And that's if there is no major trauma happening there, of course, right? It's different with each person, but on average, right? So that first decade for most people, we had a lot of our life force, right? So we're playing, going up the trees, when I think about that time, and I correlated with now, I see some of the things. So this is how you know you're leaking life force, when you're no longer doing the things you used to do, right? So when you no longer play, when you no longer make music, sing, dance, you don't like anymore spending time with people that you love, or you're finding yourself not spending time with people that you love, when you no longer, just wake up with that, like, oh, I'm so happy to be alive. As kids, we were just like, oh, so excited to go to school, so excited to go and play with our friends in the weekend or after school, like life was so the wave of life, we were in tune with it. We went with we were in the present moment. And that's obviously because also during those times, we do not have responsibilities like we do as adults, right? So just generally adulting itself, because it brings responsibilities, it's just obviously diminish the life force in some way, in some capacity, you know. So it is what it is. Yes. Okay. So something here about the shadow. So Lorena is saying that your shadow is part of you. In an African sense, it's said that your shadow can be stolen. And once that is then said by a sorcerer, then your body becomes lost. You experience a sense of loss, as if a part of you is missing. And days later, you pass on because your soul would have gone to seek that shadow that was taken. This is also linked to unnatural death. Let me sit on this question. Like, I'm trying to figure out if the shadow here is the car, or what this shadow is, a part of you. Okay, I'll come back to it. We will see what my source self says about it. The reason why I say we'll come back to it is that, so a lot of what we believe, especially in spirituality, especially in ancient times, there is a lot of this lens that is about superstition, right? Where we look at things that are actually, we can quantify them, we can look at them from spiritual science and we can explain them, right? We can explain the mechanics of them, right? But because somewhere along the way, we disconnected from the greater Akasha, the greater library of earth, there are certain things that now we grew up being told about, right? And they were told to us as superstition. And there wasn't an actual like proof, but there were explanations of something that does happen, but it was explained, unfortunately, from a fear perspective, from a negative lens or a divergent lens. And this is not to say that they are not, those divergent lenses do not exist. So this is not to say that sorcery doesn't exist or black magic doesn't exist, because unfortunately it does, you know. And the only problem here is, what is black magic? That is the question we need to answer, right? And black magic is actually really the cultivation and manipulation of the life wave or the life stream, right? People who try to maneuver and go against natural order and sacred law and use whatever technologies, whether this is magical technologies, they will appear magical to us, but most of the time it's just the manipulation of sacred laws that can be done through rituals or through quantum machinery, artificial technologies, and, right? And most of the time, for sorcery to happen, it's often happening through connecting with hyperdimensional forces that are outside the life stream, the life wave, right? So it will be entities outside Earth that have the ability to manipulate our life wave. So if a sorcerer is doing something, they're often working with entities who are able to manipulate, and the living sorcerer will have to do a ritual to connect and to open a portal for that entity to manipulate sacred law. So yes, there is that, but my interest, this question, what's automatically coming to me is like, oh, it's so, when you hear this as a kid, you just go into a state of fear. right? Like a sorcerer comes and steals your shadow. How are they stealing the shadow? And where are you when this shadow is being stolen? Where is source? Where's the angelic beings when that is happening, right? So yeah, so that's why I'm like, let me sit on it. I will still come back to it. Just like I wanted to spin that we must come to spirituality with, yes, faith, but we must also understand every single thing in the universe can be explained. It can be computed, even if it's the things that are subtle that we cannot see, right? We must come to spiritual science. We must come to the esoteric explanations of things. If we cannot explain it, then there's a missing link in there. And most of the time, when we do not understand something, we often get disempowered. So for me, if I had that, oh, my shadow could be stolen at night, I'm already disempowered. I'm not gonna open anything, right? Because someone can come and steal my shadow. And so a lot of the things that people believe in, and particularly I hear in African spirituality, there actually is a spiritual explanation for it. Sorry, a scientific explanation for it, a spiritual scientific explanation for it. That once you actually see it, there isn't anything to fear. You can't walk your whole life feeling like someone can steal your shadow. That's disempowering. And this is a mindset we need to collapse. It is a fear-mongering mindset. It comes from religious dogma. It keeps us completely disempowered and needing external salvation. That someone must come and help me because someone stole my shadow at night. Someone stole my underwear, and that was the experience. That's how they stole my shadow. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm saying this because, yeah, people get so obsessed with the stories and we just kind of like let it go, like, oh, okay, the sorcerers did this. How though? How did they do it? How can someone has the ability to affect your life that you can die? But unnatural death happens all the time. Okay. Yes. So, okay, let's come back. I feel like I'll come back to this. After I add more things will start to make sense even again for you, Lorraine. So yes, when we lose our life force from the experiences that we have went through, you know, we find ourselves not having energy, ability to do the things that, you know, we used to do, right? There's this famous post on social media that goes around, which says something like, when you go to a shaman and you tell them that you've been depressed and sad, one of the first questions they will ask you is, when did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? When did you stop making poetry, making art? Right? I mean, there are 4 questions. I forgot what the questions that you may know this post, right? And that is really a reflection that what we may call mental illnesses, right? I say this fully aware as someone who has taught in traditional psychodynamic perspective. So I have an understanding of mental illnesses. I have always known, even in class, that there was something else missing with our explanation of mental health and mental well-being, right? And that explanation is to explain why the mental body can get that collapse, what makes the mental body collapse, and then we experience depression. And then there was no, it was always something as simple as depression is a state of being stuck in the past, right? And it's like, I mean, not all the time, right? How many of us have been depressed not because we've been overthinking about the past? Sometimes it's so much more than that. Sometimes it's actually the present moment that's depressing you. Sometimes also you just wake up and you just don't have energy. Something is draining your energy. All right, so why did I want to talk about this life force cultivation? I want to share a story with you all. I think I may have shared a little bit of it. At the beginning of this year, I was in a class with my mentor teacher on a life force cultivation session. And in that life force cultivation session, we were just really connecting with our life force, because you see, you can connect with your life force. It's alive in you. And if you're a genetic path cutter, you actually need to understand that your gifts come from this life force template. And sometimes when you say, Joy, I can't see, or I don't hear my guides, or they're not communicating back, it's because we have disconnected from our life force, from our car. So we are not able to hear, because it does require an extra frequency to receive information from the spirit realm. That is why we will talk about what cultivation is, but that is why we have to cultivate our life force and expand it and grow it, right? So that we are able to hear more information from our higher self and higher support, and go through our organic ascension and in initiation, right? But so back to the life force meditation activation that I had with my teacher. So in the activation, we were doing a lot of practices to cultivate the life force. And generally, honestly, when I came into this, I didn't really have any kind of like feeling or a sense that I might be leaking any life force. I just generally thought, oh, I'm fine. Everything in my life is fine. Like I'm not fine, great, actually. So I don't have a problem. So I'm just gonna be here zen about it. And I was really zen about it. And the more we went deeper into the cultivation process, we opened up and connected with the deeper aspects of ourselves beyond just this current car self, to other aspects of the spirit. And we call this the soul aspects. There are more than one aspect of your soul, right? So which some people they may say is that past life self, but it's really not a past life self, because time doesn't move in a linear form. It's an aspect that's actually existing in its different timeline, but it's alive and it's very well connected to you now. And sometimes you are receiving information from these aspects of yourself, and sometimes you can receive energy and support from your soul energy from different times. I know, cuckoo crazy. Anyway, back to the soul aspects of myself. One of the reasons why my practice is very much centered on meditation, but at first I just thought I loved meditation. I've always loved it ever since I was young, right? And as I had grown in my journey, I have come to discover one of the first aspects that I became aware of is an aspect of myself who is a monk, right? And I was 19 when I discovered this, I just used to say, oh, I used to be a monk, but it isn't actually the monk who is spending their entire life in deep meditations. So that's why I have the ability to take people into deeper meditations, and also meditation has always been easy for me. This has never been a problem, because my soul has experienced or is experiencing that timeline where I spend majority of my time in meditation. So in any case, I connected to this aspect of myself. I've always perceived it as the most advanced aspect of myself, because in that lifetime, I'm spending all of my life in meditation. So I must be pretty enlightened, I assume. May not be the case, but I'm assuming. So in any case, when I was connecting to this inner aspect of my being, one of the things that the soul said was, it was this big voice. It was, I hate sitting down. I hate not moving. This voice said that to me. And I just, it was so emotional for me, because I just started to cry, because it was this truth that's also true for me. I hate not moving. Like in my life, if there is no movement, I hate it with a passion. This is not something I was privy of, because I'm also pretty comfortable in my life. I do a lot of my work sitting down on the ground, because, as an oracle to channel properly, you have to sit down. on the ground. So I don't mind that part of my life, but I realized that my life force is deeply connected to movement. Why? Because at a deeper level, beyond being an oracle, I'm actually a warrior. So as a warrior, what do? We move a lot, we train, we move the body, right? But I had leaned so much on my oracular self, the one who sits and he's zen and like who's and but there's another part that wants to like push, and practice moves and tai chi and stuff like that, and that was like a breakthrough for me. This was a breakthrough for me because in moments when I felt dissatisfaction in my life, and this is a life that is really purposeful, if I'm really honest, sometimes I was not aware, why will I be dissatisfied? And when this truth hit me, it is because we are not moving, Joy. And what is movement for my soul? Movement for my soul is this idea of a different day. I do not like having the same day, monotonous day. And so that's weird because as an oracle, in some way you have a monotonous day in that you see clients, you take them through same process, different, of course, it's a different people, but most of it, you do it centered in one place. So there isn't movement, right? And when I was sitting deep, thinking about this, how I do not like movement, I recalled a moment in my life where I was in movement. And this was in my early 20s when I was in university. I was definitely meditating every day, doing all the spiritual stuff, but I was in a theater production. I was writing films. I was part of an organization where we would travel around the world, well, mostly Africa, not the world at the time. And my life, I remember, and then I was going to school in university, and it was a pretty cool class because it was psychology. But I just remember that time being the most happiest I had ever been. And I could never identify what that was. And it was really that my life had movement. I was constantly moving. Like, you catch me on Saturday, you're like, Joe, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I'm going to ISAC. We have a meeting today. On Thursday, oh, I have rehearsal today. We have a production coming soon at the film festival or the theater festival, Like, that was the happiest I'd ever been. And I was connected to the poet, the filmmaker in me, the creative, the leader, but also the meditator was pretty alive. I was constantly reading books. And yes, I was not practicing at the time, but I was deep in my spirituality as well, right? And my life force was so much. People used to say, Joy, you have so much energy. You're so passionate, which I am. I've always been. But I remember that time, like more active. The life force was more active, So just the other day, it dawned on me. I was like, I must return. After this cultivation, actually, I returned back to writing, and had not been writing in a while. And that has been really helpful. This week, what was alive is, oh my God, I miss shooting, like shooting film. Always, I've been a filmmaker and we will go on sites and shoot things, It was one of the best things I would do. I love that so much. So this week, this is what has been moving in me. Like, I really miss shooting. I need to create space for that because as a soul, these are aspects of myself. And whatever it is for you that makes up part of your expression and your essence, those aspects are important. If they made you feel alive, those are reflections of where your life force is feeling that it's moving within you in ways that are coherent and sufficient and sustainable for you. It is when we stop literally the singing, the dancing, the music, the art, when we stop hanging out with our loves, we stop going to parties, that is when the life force literally can also diminish. But there is where we have to do the healing stuff for the traumas we went through. But today I really want to talk about then what, when we have done the healing and we keep feeling like nothing is changing, what else could be the problem? How else can we cultivate our life force, right? Because sometimes it's really not, you don't need another mother wound healing, you don't need another cleansing. Sometimes you just need to dance, sometimes you need to create, to do the things that you've always loved. So, I mean, I want you to remember here with me, share with me in the chat, what are the things that you used to do that used to make you feel wildly alive, right? Share with me in the chat, what are those things that used to make you feel alive that you know you may have stopped doing? They don't have to be spiritual. They don't have to be like, oh, this is a genetic path cutter path, because that's what a lot of genetic path cutters would like to do, right? And the truth is, there is a point in your journey where you do have to dedicate a lot of the time into cultivating your spirituality. And this I understand. But there is a way that as spiritual people, we like to seal ourselves from the world and we stop living. And all that we do is just about the devotion to our spiritual evolution. And that also steals our life force. Because we were not just created here to come and be devoted to the higher worlds only. There is a reason why you're human. You have to have a physical body. Y'all, we need to understand that not every being in the universe has the ability to drink tea, 5 roses, and really enjoy it. They don't eat food, you know? And yes, there are some people who will say that this is a reflection of our lack of evolution, and there may be truth to that, but the truth is today we have the ability, we have these senses that allow us to feel excited, to be activated by reading, as you're saying, you know, Balisa. Yes, I know. Yesterday as well, I started to read this poetry book and I was so alive. I was like, oh my God, it's been a while since I've read poetry. You know, I read all the time, but I always read spiritual books. And yesterday was like a different tempo. I was like, this is why I have to go talk about life force cultivation. My inner child was on fleek. She was so excited. Yeah, right? Creating, yes. It's always actually, life force is connected to what? The force of creation. When we speak about the life wave is the river of creation. So life force is your creative energy. So of course, you are more in tune, you are cultivating your life force, the more you create. So thank you for sharing that. The sewing, beading, and the baking, right? And so much more. Yes, I simply stopped and have been yearning for that lately. And you must go back to that, right? You must return to the things that make you feel alive, because these are also part of your spiritual mission. This is the thing. Our spiritual mission is not just to come and heal every day. It's also to have joy, to be enchanted, to experience the magic of being human, right? So last night I sang Ram Dass Hare Krishna. I know Hare Krishna, I know that. So on YouTube for 25 minutes, and it was so amazing. Oh yes, singing. And I know how much you love singing, Sarah. Yes, beautiful. I didn't do it for a while, creating art in the last couple of minutes of days too. I've been so stagnant. I've been so moving little by little, hoping for a flood of that life force. Yes. So if you are definitely feeling like your life force is low, one of the most organic and easier way of cultivating life force. So we have been drained of our life force by the last 2 years. Why? Because we were not moving. And this was like an aha moment when so Aspect said, I hate not moving. And I was like, oh, this is why humanity is lethargic. Why we are so depressed? It's because we were locked out. And we are not created for no moving. Just be in your house and be in your computer all day in and don't see people. That's just debilitating to the soul. It's horrifying, truly, to the inner child, right? So we can do the cleansings, we can do the inner child work, but we must also do this I call the bliss work, right? The magic work. The magic work is go do the thing that makes you feel magical, that makes you feel enchanted. What is the most enchanting thing that you love, right? Go back to that. And I know, like, you must realize also with the way our life currently is being moved more and more to transhumanism, to move us away from nature into technology. The more we move into technology, the more we lose our connection to natural magic, to enchantment, right? We all know the joy of reading a physical book and a book on the phone. There is a difference. There is a different sensation, right? So we must go back to those natural ways in which we used to do things, which is read the book that you bought from the bookstore, visit the bookstore, and enroll for a dance class so you can go meet people and dance with people, right? Return to the baking. Right now I actually really want someone to come and teach me how to bake. I just started gardening. I have not always been the most perfect person with gardening. I'm actually quite terrified, but I'm also very fascinated. And I really love going to the plants every morning and say, hello, plants. I feel so alive. My life force is definitely be more activated by these practices of gardening. You can also add more. It doesn't have to be doing the same things you used to do. Maybe we do not have the ability and the capacity to do the things that we used to do in college and all those other years when we did not have this transhumanism, new world order in our face like this. It has always been there, but now it's in our face. So we may not be able to do certain things, but what can you do? What can you add in your life, right? What can you add in your life that can make you feel alive, that can make you feel like yourself again? Because ultimately, all of our spiritual processes that we're doing, our healings, all of them, are they not to help us return to our true self, to our natural self? Right? They are. Why would we spend years and years just going to the rivers cleansings and doing mother wound and father wound? Is it not so we can have the capacity to have more joy, more love, more magic, more community? Is it not because we want to release the parts of us that are afraid to declare that I'm a writer, I'm a poet, I'm a dancer, I am a gardener, I'm a baker. In fact, I want to bake and share this with people. That's why we are healing. We're not healing so that we can be worthy of entering the kingdom of God. We have always been worthy of that, We are healing so that we can be truly wildly alive here on planet Earth. We can be the ambassadors of light, of God. And being an ambassador of God is not just about this work that I'm doing where I'm sharing with you guys this wisdom. So definitely, I am being an ambassador of light right now. You are being an ambassador of light right now by listening and receiving these transmissions and these codes and remembering. But we must understand being ambassadors of light, it's in our daily life every day, how you show up, how much you allow yourself to give back to the world, to earth, to humankind. Your gifts that God gave you those gifts so you may use them. You were not given your love for reading, for creating, just so that you just keep it with yourself. You're meant to share it with humans, with other people, to bring joy to them as well. So that's how we cultivate life force. This is the thing. You can never completely lose your life force. It can be drained by the trauma experiences that you've had. It can be drained by hyperdimensional forces. And even those hyperdimensional forces, if they're draining it, if any attachments that we may have from our ancestry or from just being human, really. It comes because we are leaking our life force, because we are not being our true self, because we have been hurt maybe, yes, right? So we seal and we heal to seal the leaks. And then what happens after you've sealed? You have to live. You have to live widely. You have to become your ancestors' wildest dreams. You know, the grandmothers, they like to tell me, Joy, we, in our time, and this is why they were behind, like they were up on my back. They're like, Joy, you are at a point where you have really truly understood what your purpose is, and you're doing your purpose work, and it's beautiful. But we did not give you the gift of writing so that you just keep it. Why do you find yourself constantly watching film? Do you think it's random? No. Because there's an impulse there that wants to create. So you must create and create space for you to create this way. Because if you do not, your life force is stagnant and it wants to move. You will enter a state of entropy, and any strand of dissatisfaction and feeling low and feeling stuck, that's entropy, and entropy is lack of life force movement. And you must create space for your life force to move. Are you with me? Is this making sense to you? Yes. Yes. I also particularly love to giggle in such a way that every day I have to watch a comedy. Yes, I was just watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's hilarious. I've watched it 10 times or more, actually. I think every year I watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine to completion and restarted. Anyway, and it's not for everyone. Not everyone loves that Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But yeah, okay. So, yes, Vanessa, you're sharing that it's beautiful and relaxing to grow things. I started a vegetable and herb garden. Yes, which I have started to sell. Oh, that's so amazing. I've also started designing and going to start printing my own labels. I love that. I bake. I'm also going to start making sauces with things I grow in my garden. That is so exciting, Vanessa. That's where your life force is. That's the most organic. You don't need to pay anyone for this life force cultivation. You do the things that make you wildly alive. Right? And the thing is, even if there's aspects of your life that are not going well, that you wish were in certain places, sometimes have you noticed when you do these activities that connect you back to your soul essence, sometimes the solutions for that problem that you had just comes. I have definitely seen myself when I am watching a film and then I'm like, ooh, that's the answer for this. Or I am reading, or, you know, in meditation, just doing things that I love, that the answers come to me. Another place where honestly answers come to me is also the bathtub. When I just sit there and I listen to music, ooh, answers come to me. Yeah. So you don't always need to go book a session with Joy Mohemi. Just go do the things that you love and see nature answer you. Like nature will answer back on your questions, on the things that like in your head. Yes. So yeah. Y'all, I mean, everyone seems to love gardening. And for me, I partly have, I think, it's definitely a story because everywhere I've had people tell me that I have magical hands, and I'm like, and I do have magical hands. When I do my healing work, I work with my hands. But with the gardening, I'm just always so scared. You all must teach me. But yes, yes to gardening. Yes. Yes. Sounds wonderful. You see, that's the healing. The more we connect with the earth, the more we create, particularly as the feminine was created to create. That's why we are homemakers, right? Because we've got this code, we have this language that we have with the F, which we know how to like translate into beautiful things, right? That make other people feel good, right? Feel good and. Okay. So go do the beauty things, the magical things. They don't have to be magical, like out of this world, but how do you know something is magic? It's the way that it makes you feel. It makes you instantly feel connected and alive, right? Yes. Yes, Palisa, you can also come for sessions with me. Why? Particularly because I'm invested in cultivating magic for people. So it's like to help you remember your magic. So you can come for that for sure. But then we must continue to cultivate that magic in our lives through the daily actions that we take. So we can't just go do the healing and then we expect our lives to change without us taking actions that are more in alignment with our natural self, right? Because that's how we end up getting stuck in the trap of moving from one healer to another, one healer to another, where we feel activated when we're working with a healer. And then the moment that stops, we feel a collapse, right? Because that's not sustainable. That means you are outsourcing your life force cultivation. You can't outsource. You can't give someone else the responsibility to cultivate your life force. You have to be responsible for it, right? So today I ask you, what can you do moving forward to be more and more of yourself? What choices can you make, right? So, for me, next week is my birthday, y'all. And I think I tend to think a lot about life around my birthday time. And yeah, I was thinking about like, how can I feel more and more alive, more widely alive? And the answer was, like I said, it was make films, you know. And at first, someone may think it would be, oh yeah, enroll for a course or get a what. But it was go make films, Joy. Just write a short film and shoot it. So currently, that's my new project. I'm making a short film. Very excited about it because I don't know what the short film is going to be, but just the way that I feel so alive. I'm like, this is it. So simple, right? So what is the one thing that you can do that can make you feel alive? What can you return to about yourself? That thing that has always been there that you may have forgotten, that you may have been neglecting, that comes so natural to you. Do you know that's your purpose as well? That's your higher purpose as well. That is the path of ascension as well. That is the path of your evolution. So they're saying that before enlightenment, we chop wood, we make food, we make love, we laugh, we go to sleep. After enlightenment, we chop wood, we make food, we make love, we sleep, and we begin, right? So nothing actually really in the external changes within our growth in a spirituality. But sometimes we get trapped in thinking it's supposed to, right? We're supposed to live this more exotic, luxurious lives. And I mean, you can get luxury if that's something that turns your soul on, definitely. But it's more of how can you be more in service to the God within you, the God intelligence within you, right? To be in service to your art, to be in service to your creation, to your creativity. It is to create room for those things, to make space for those things. And when you do, you will see your life force growing. You will see your life opening up. You'll see actually certain things opening up that you didn't know, right? You know what's crazy? Because like my family, spirit family, they're so on point. Just literally last week, because I've been thinking a lot about life force cultivation. A friend of mine who is a filmmaker, he's a full-time filmmaker. I met him in India, and it was in India that we both discovered what our true purpose is. And while I discovered that mine is to be an oracle, he discovered that his is to be a filmmaker, right? And 5 years later, he is the fully fledged filmmaker who gets grants and an award-winning filmmaker, right? So he sent me, I haven't spoken to him for like a year or 2 years. And he just called me and he's like, Joy, I want you to write a film for me. And I'm ready to come. I'll produce it. Just write the film. I'm ready. This is time. After all these years, now finally I have the resources. He has now a company that has like 20 plus employees. So he has the resources to create my film. And this came through the moment I started to think about how can I create more? How can I have movement in my life? And I didn't reach out. He reached out. And I'm like, what's up with this? Because Spirit always wants to support you. God always wants to support you. And God often wants to support you with your God-given gifts. But if you are running away from your God-given gifts, it will always feel like God doesn't want to support you, or your prayers are not being answered because you have applied for that thing, but nothing is moving end, or you're doing this in your business and nothing is moving. When ultimately it's because sometimes you haven't yet accepted your true gift, your true intelligence as it is. You're still holding back. You're still tiptoeing. And I particularly know what tiptoeing is because I have done it in my life. If you've been with me for a long period of time, you may know that I didn't always used to teach like this. Like I used to just kind of like drop little hints and not go all in. But now I'm like, I'm going to be my true self, teach PhD spirituality. And when I did, more humans find me, and even now I can tell you what the block has always been with me in writing is that I came to writing through literature, through reading novels. And then when I was 15 years old, I remember I fell in love with film, and in my country, film is honestly non-existent, so it just always felt crazy that I would have a desire for something that I couldn't figure out how I could possibly make a living from being a filmmaker. So I kind of just always thought the route to this would be write a novel and then it would be made into a film. But honestly, guys, my love for film surpasses my love for literature. It really does. And it's the first time I'm publicly saying this. So what I've been doing is I've been trying to go around my love. Be like, oh, let me just maybe write poetry. And then after writing the poetry, and then I will write a short story. And from the short story, we'll make a film. Just this couple of days, my I am has been like, Joy, write it as a film because it's a film, period, right? So what is the thing that you are going around trying to manipulate, be like, oh, if I could do it this way, then maybe this will lead to this. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you feel me? Drop me a heart if you feel and you understand what I'm talking about. This idea of trying to go step by step to the dream, where you're not declaring out loud the exact thing that you know will make you feel so alive. Right? Let me see with the dancing emoji. If you know what I'm talking about, if you've been there, right? Yes. Okay. So you're sharing, Palestine, that I have just registered an NGO. I want to help youngsters where I live change the narrative of their circumstances. Beautiful. In order to hopefully help them see the magic within themselves and create a bright future for themselves. I think the traumatized child in me needs to do this. Definitely. This sounds like your purpose, Palestine. Right? You are in service. You're in service to the inner children of others, because by helping that inner children, you are helping yourself, you're healing yourself. Definitely. So we have to do that. And that's the thing. Every single thing that we do, whether we see it and know it it is always healing, not only to those who you're helping, but to you. All healing is healing to the whole. All healings of individual souls is truly the healing of the world soul of our planet. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I wanted to drop in today. I just wanted to remind you that you can cultivate this through going to the path of your highest excitement. That too is healing. That too is healing. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Ntabise. Thank you, Mutikazi. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I hope you received what you needed to receive today. I am actually unsure if next week I'll be here because I am traveling for my birthday. You all know I make a big deal of celebrations. This is the other thing. You must celebrate yourself. You must celebrate life. You know, like in the midst of all these dark times that we are in, let us not forget to live, to truly be alive, and to see ourselves and to witness ourselves and to give joy to ourselves. Not me, joy, 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 the small j. Yeah. So I wish you all the best. I may see you in April. And of course, I will come with exciting opportunities for you in April about how we can dive deeper into our life force cultivation, right? What other magical ways can we use to cultivate this life force to be truly alive? And I want to support you with that. And my next offering is exactly for that. It's for you, the one who wants to move from that stuck frequency that you feel. Okay, so check out for announcements next week, and I will see you possibly that other Thursday. Okay, bye, loves.